Right now, you're the only kind of human alive on Earth. Not you specifically, your species, Homo sapiens, us. For 99% of the time humans have existed, that wasn't true. There were others, other kinds of people, walking, hunting, raising children, burying their dead. Not animals, people, with fire, with tools, with language, with grief. And then one by one, they disappeared. And the strangest part isn't that the others died. The strangest part is what we found inside our own bodies a few years ago, because they didn't entirely die. Some of them are still here, in you. Let's go back 300,000 years. If you stood on a hill in what is now Israel and looked out across the valley, you might see 5 different kinds of humans in a single afternoon. Short, stocky Neanderthals in the cold north, tall, gracile Homo sapiens drifting up from Africa, the mysterious Denisovans in the east, tiny island people barely 3 feet tall in what's now Indonesia. This was normal. This was Earth for hundreds of thousands of years. The idea that one human species would inherit the entire planet would have seemed absurd, insane. So what happened? Let's start with the ones we know best, the Neanderthals. For a long time, we told ourselves a flattering story. We were smarter, they were brutes, we had art, and they had clubs. We outcompeted them. Almost none of that is true. In 2018, researchers studying cave paintings in 3 different sites across Spain dated the red ochre handprints on the walls. The paintings were 65,000 years old. Homo sapiens hadn't even arrived in Europe yet. The hands on those walls belonged to Neanderthal. They made jewelry from eagle talons. They buried their dead with flowers. Pollen from medicinal plants was found in a Neanderthal grave in Iraq. They cared for their wounded. The Shanidar skeleton, the one with the withered arm and the blind eye, lived to 40 because someone kept him alive. Their brains were bigger than ours. Their bodies were stronger. Their tools were more refined than people gave them credit for. By every measure that should matter, they were our equals. In some ways, more. And they're gone. But not the way you think. Here's where the story breaks open. In 2010, geneticists finally sequenced the Neanderthal genome. They compared it to ours, and they found something nobody expected. If your ancestors are not exclusively from sub-Saharan Africa, you are carrying between 1 and 4% Neanderthal DNA right now, in your immune system, in your skin, in your hair. We didn't outcompete them, we absorbed them, somewhere between 50,000 and 40,000 years ago, in caves we'll never find. A Neanderthal man and a Homo sapiens woman met, and they didn't fight. Not always. Sometimes they had children. Those children had children. And here you are, now movie to Siberia. In 2008, in a cave called Denisova, in the Altai Mountains, a Russian archaeologist found a single piece of finger bone, a child's pinky. They almost threw it out. It looked like nothing. They sequenced its DNA anyway. It belonged to a girl, about 13 years old, and she was not Homo sapien. She was not Neanderthal. She was something new, something nobody had ever seen. We named them Denisovans, after the cave. We have almost no bones from them. A finger, a few teeth, a jaw fragment found years later on the Tibetan plateau. That's it. An entire species of human, and what we have of them would fit in your hand. But their DNA is everywhere. If your ancestors are from East Asia, Melanesia, Australia, or the Pacific Islands, you are carrying Denisovan DNA right now. Up to 6% in some Papua New Guinean population. One specific Denisovan gene helps modern Tibetans breathe at 14,000 feet without getting altitude sickness. That gene came from a kind of human who left no body, no painting, no name. Just a finger bone and a survival trick that saves lives today. They were here, and they're still here, in bloodstreams, in lungs, in immune responses. And then there's the strangest one of all. In 2003, on the Indonesian island of Flores, archaeologists dug into a cave floor and pulled out a skeleton, an adult woman, 3.5 feet tall, the brain of a chimpanzee, hands that made stone tools, hunted dwarf elephants, used fire. They called her Homo floresiensis. The press called her the Hobbit. She lived 50,000 years ago on an island, while Homo sapiens were already spreading across Asia. How did a 3-foot-tall human with a tiny brain make sophisticated tools and survive on an island full of giant rats and pygmy elephants and Komodo dragons the size of cars? We still don't know. We barely know anything about her. We don't have her DNA. The bones are too degraded. She's a ghost, and she's not alone. In 2019, another tiny human was found in the Philippines. Homo Luzonensis, different bones, different island, same story. Now zoom out, stand back from the whole timeline. For most of human history, the Earth had options. Multiple experiments running in parallel, different builds, different brains, different ways of being a person. And then, somewhere around 40,000 years ago, the experiments stopped. The Homo erectus, who had survived for nearly 2 million years, the longest run of any human species, died out around the same time. One species was left. The question every paleoanthropologist is now haunted by is whether this is a coincidence. 8 extinctions in geological terms, almost simultaneously, every one of them happening right around the time Homo sapiens arrived in their territory. We don't have proof of what we did. We have a pattern. Wherever we showed up, they stopped existing. Sometimes through violence, probably. Sometimes through disease, certainly. Sometimes by outcompeting them for the same food in the same forest. And sometimes, as the DNA shows, by sleeping with them until their bloodline disappeared into ours. We are not the survivors of a fair contest. We are the inheritors of an empty house. Here's the part that should sit with you. Loneliness is not a human condition. It's a Homo sapiens condition.